Okay. I don't know if I can see messages. Uh, all right, please, if you can hear and you can see me, can you send in messages so I know that, you know, everyone can hear me and see me. Oh, wonderful. I'm seeing emojis. I'm seeing emojis, but I'm not seeing chats. So it's just the chat I want to confirm if we can see if you can see me or hear me. If you can see me and hear me, just hi, hello, Sunday blessing. Hi, hi. Okay, wonderful. You can see me and you can hear me. Let's start this live session. Hello, everybody. My name is Michela Okwara, and I'll be your moderator for today. Yes, it's very, very nice to see everybody chatting. I'm seeing someone from the Hectic Tribe community. Hi, Sunday blessing. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. So let's start immediately. All right. Yeah. So we are going to start off with what the Hectic Tribe is all about. Then we are going to move to what we discussed last time. Then we are also going to talk about. Then we are going to introduce our speaker. Now, all these things are going to happen in just 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes because we don't have enough time. So let's start off with what the Hectic Tribe. We have been hearing Hectic Tribe live session. We have been posting here and there. So let me give you a little breakdown of what the Hectic Tribe community is all about. Now, the Hectic Tribe community is a purpose-driven organization committed to equipping young people, especially women, with the clarity tools, with the clarity, tools, and systems required to build intentional and impactful lives. Our work centers on capacity building, personal development, systems thinking for life and career growth, community driven transformation. Please forgive this whole grammar mistakes. So let me take that again. Our work centers on capacity building, personal development, systems build thinking for life and career growth, and community driven transformation. Now, the problem we're trying to solve in the Hectic Tribe is that at the beginning of every year, people set out with ambitious goals. But this July, we have something for every woman this July. Now we're trying to solve the practical frameworks, the core issues, which are the practical frameworks, accountability systems, and strategic clarity. So this July, we are having an event called Mastermind 2026. And in this event, we are going to be talking about these issues. The core issue here is not lack of ambition, it is just lack of practical frameworks, accountability systems, and strategic clarity. Now, our speaker, who is the founder of the Hectic Tribe community, please, if you're from the Hectic Tribe, just click in the love, because we are about to get some knowledge from her today. And today's topic is going to be the way of the stretch. I can't be able to like break it down for you, but our speaker is definitely going to do justice to that. So the way of the stretch, that is today's topic, right? Uh, last topic was desire versus action, which we learned a whole lot. And if you cannot remember what we learned, we have some quotes that she said last right? So without further ado, let us introduce Miss Sophia Onwatu. Give put your hands on, send in the love, send in the love, send in the love, send in the love. Let's see the love for her. Come on. Come on. Yes. Thank you so much, Blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Miss Sophia, if you are here with us, please can you unmute your mic
It's your
and your
mic and
camera?
your
Let's
camera.
kick off
Let's
today's
kick
session.
off today's session.
Okay?
Hello,
Are you
everybody.
here
Good
with
evening.
us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me, please? Can we hear me?
Miss
Sophia,
Sophia, can you
can
hear
you hear
us?
us?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can
What?
you hear me, please? Can we hear me? Can we hear me? Can we hear me? I have been speaking. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All, all right. All right. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Everybody can hear me. It looks like it's just. But Amaka, can you hear me? I don't know if that is, if it's possible to get feedback on that. All right. So good evening, everybody. I feel like, please, just as she said, we're going to like overlook a lot of, a lot of things, right? For this session, a lot of things have happened that would have made this session not to happen today, right? But we want to be able to say, when we say we want to impact or we want to add value, we want to be able to do that, come thick or, come rain, come sunshine, to it's basically like the dedication to making lives better, the dedication to making impact or even showing anybody the right way to do things, right? So today's conversation for me is a very, very wonderful one. I don't know how many of us, were here for the last session where we, really broke down some certain things about how to go from emotions to results. That journey that you take from from the emotion of disgust to decision to desire, right? To resolve to action, which then catalyzes results in your life. I really do hope that that session was. I really do hope that that session was very, very valuable for every single one of us who tuned into that session 2 weeks ago. And today we're going to, and if you actually study like the sessions that we've been having, you can draw some sort of connecting line in all of the focus. They are all linked together, they are all interconnected. So one is connecting to the other, and is connecting to the other, and is connecting to the other. And that was such an intentional choice when we sat down and started to curate, the thought pattern or how we wanted to go about these live series. It was very, very important for us to say that, okay, how we want people to journey with us to go. We want to take people on a journey. We want them to be able to go from this, understanding this, to understanding this, to understanding this, to understanding this. Which is why, today's topic for me is so very, very important. It's so important that we have this conversation, and it is the way of the stretch. The way of the stretch. I don't know if we can even make use of the chat box. If we can, that would really, really be good, right? But I really want to know, what do we really think the stretch means? What do we really think that's what do we think is the or would I say the rationale, right? What do you believe is the rationale behind, the subject matter that we've taken, or we've talked about today? When you think of it, what immediately comes, into your mind? I want to read one or two. I want to read one or two comments. When you hear the words the stretch, right? What comes to mind? What comes to mind? I can see the charts, but I want to be able to read and say, okay, yes, I need maybe like one or two people to just, let me know when you think of the stretch. What do you know, what do you think? What do you mean? What comes to mind? What comes to mind? I'm waiting to read from us today.
Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear
I'm waiting to read from us.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Can we hear me, please? Can we hear me, please? Okay, so I'm just waiting to read in the chat box. Just put it in the chat box, right? Let's talk first. Let me know when you hear the word the stretch, right? What is the immediate thing that comes to mind? What's the first thing that you're thinking when you hear, oh, the way of the stretch? What does that even mean? What are like your initial thoughts around that, right? Because we're discussing the matter of the stretch because it's important that this conversation is had because the current, how do I explain this now? What we currently have as an infrastructure to step into our next is not enough, right? Is insufficient for the next that we have. The current infrastructure that we have to receive, whether it's in courage or whether it's in the discipline that is required, the infrastructure that we have now as we are is not enough to step into our next. To step into our next. It's not, I mean, I'm saying it's not loud. Can we hear me now? Am I more audible now? Am I more audible now? Okay. All right. All right. All right. Right. So I want to hear us. When you hear the stretch, I'm not seeing anything yet. So when you hear the stretch, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What is the most initial thoughts you're having around the stretch?
Okay, can you hear me? Hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm getting points that's not audio is not loud. So I don't know if um
So is
maybe
that
maybe I
what you
don't know.
can you
I
hear
don't
me
know.
clearly? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you because
Then
I'm
it's
putting on
probably the
because I'm putting
person's
on
network.
earpiece.
It's not if every other person can hear me well, audible enough, then it's probably, the
Okay.
network from the other side, not from my side.
Okay. But can everyone hear her? Can everyone
If
hear
you
her?
can hear
If
her,
you can hear
if
her, if audio enough,
audio
let us know in the chat box. Okay, before that is settled,
that is settled, let me
I want to say something concerning the way of
concerning the way of the
stretch, right?
right?
What it means
What it means
to me,
to
why
me,
I
like
feel like it
it
means,
means,
or what it might
or what it
discuss
might
today.
discuss today.
So the
The
way
way of
of the stretch
this
to
question
me
to me feels
is you know
or
how do I put it? Okay,
how
so
do I
in this journey
so in this journey
of becoming,
coming,
right,
right?
there will be
There will be
responsibilities to handle,
responsibilities to handle,
and
and
it takes becoming
it takes
more
becoming more
than
than
who
who
you already
or
you
who
are.
you are.
I don't know
I don't know
how to put it.
how to put it.
It
It
takes
takes
it takes
it
more
takes
than who you
more
are
than who you are
right now.
right now.
It takes you
It's
pushing
you
yourself
pushing
to the
yourself to
extreme to
extreme to
actually like be able
like be
to
able to
hold
hold
or
or
carry out
carry out
those
those
responsibilities
responsibilities
that the greater you
that the
have.
greater you have
I don't know if
I don't
that
know
makes
if
sense,
that makes sense.
but
But
that's
that's
just what it
that's what
means
it
to me.
means to me.
Yeah.
That is so good. That's so profound, right? And I think that is, really, really wonderful. But I'm seeing some really good things as well in the comment section. I'm seeing, Nora is saying, when I hear the stretch, what comes to mind is exceeding one's limits in strength and in capacity. That is so true, right? That is so true, right? And I'm seeing here, my love Neka is saying, what comes to mind when I hear about stretch is, challenges, delays that I would have, and in turn takes me to the next level. Okay, I think what she's trying to say is that when we face challenges and we face situations that maybe seek to turn us or seek to, to weigh us down, right? But then we end up using that as some sort of momentum, right? That then shifts us into like the next level, right? When you stick with that entire process, do you get? And then it helps you catalyze your next level, because you've decided that nothing will happen that will make me to, what's it called, to give up, or nothing will happen that will make me to go back on my goals, or on my, on the kind of life that I want to build. And I think that these are so very, very wonderful, very, very wonderful interpretations of, the word stretch. Like I said, we're having this conversation now because the truth of the matter is that the current the current inner infrastructure that we have to accommodate our next, most times there's a stretching that needs to happen. If you're going to step into your next, there's a stretch that must happen, right? And today we're going to be breaking down about three arenas that you must experience, the stretch. We're going to be breaking down three arenas that we must, and I'm going to try to see how we can move this, as fast as, we possibly can. So a really good place that I will start from would be like the most, or would I say like the reality of the fact that if you don't become restless, so what I mean by that is until you become restless, you won't know what it takes, or you won't do what it takes, right, to shift where you are. If you don't become restless, last session we spoke about disgust, anger. We spoke about desire, right? We spoke about resolve. We spoke about, you know um decision, your ability to make decision before you even start to take action, right? And then we said that if you have the right combination of emotions, things that trigger you to say, I want to step into my next, I want to now move into my next, I'm tired of this, I want to move into this, or I want this, and that is why I'm going to pursue after it, right? So it is very, very important that we understand that until that restlessness comes, even if you are somebody who is successful, do you understand? Because even successful people have that tendency to be locked into that place that they are, right? It to be locked into that place of success that they are, and then they end up becoming very, very complacent. They don't aspire to anything else, right? So that's a very dangerous place to be in. So you must always take the posture of, what is my next? What is my next? What is the next for me? What does the future hold for me? Right, so it keeps you in a permanent disposition of, how then do better, how then do I position myself, how then do I, what are my habits? All these things will influence, on the habits, the things you say, the things you don't say, the places you go, the way that you act, the way that you respond to people, the way that you respond to situations around you. So I feel like, or I believe that that's such a very, very important, reason, right? And I think that there's such a unique requirement that we have as women, right? And maybe even just young people to take responsibility for our becoming. Just like, Amaka just said, right? There's such a responsibility that we have to take responsibility for our becoming. So she said that in the journey of becoming, as we decide to become, because you must decide to become, as we decide to become, right, it becomes very, very important. It becomes very, very necessary that that sense of personal responsibility kicks in. It's a very, very important thing that must happen. It's a very, very important thing that must happen. And that is how the stretch begins. That is how the stretch starts, right? So it's very, very, very important, right? And what this necessarily means is that if you want to, if you want to go far, you want to do big things, You want to make significant impact. You want to become a good example so that others can follow. You want to be a voice. You want to be a vessel. You want to be a visionary, right? You want to have access to, to kings. You want to become you want to even advise government on policy, right? You want to be able to do all of these wonderful things. You absolutely must make that decision to stretch yourself. And I think one thing I should even say before we even talk about the stretch is that um is that a very, very important thing that we should know is that deciding to stretch is that you first of all even understand where you are, what your current strengths are. Where do my current strengths lie, right? Or lay? Where what are my weaknesses? What are my assets? What are my liabilities? And I think that, maybe even for the masterclass, build out some kind of we can build out some kind of would I say framework, right, that really just allows you to assess your because we're coming to reassess, to recalibrate, and to re-strategize, right? So so we can do that. We can build a framework that really just helps you take stock of the assets that you have and also the liabilities that you have. Now, the way that I teach assets and liabilities is that I teach it through four lenses, right? Through four lenses. So you're thinking there are four things that you think about when you think of taking, the assets and liabilities test. Well, let me not jump into that, but maybe we can decide to build out that framework, right? And then we can have it. It becomes like a free resource that we have for attendees for the event, right? So this is me pausing to say you guys are, cordially invited to the Mastermind 2026. There's a lot of intention that is going into the preparation for that event, and to even describe how exclusive it is, it's just for 50 people in the room, and we're making room for just 50 people online. That's to tell you the kind of conversations that we want to have. We want to really have that intimate setting where we're able to say, as women, let's take some time off. Let's look at our goals, the goals that we set at the beginning of the year. Let's see what has worked. Let's analyze what hasn't. And let's reset them. Let's re strategize. Let's replan. Let's do everything again. The ones that are working, what is making them work? And then you can give insights to another person. This is how it's working for me, right? So that was just a digress to, invite us. I think what we'll do is if we could post the link to the seller in the chat box, that would be really, really good. uh, Whoever is handling the hectic tribe, the hectic tribes, YouTube live. Let's put the link to the seller, to the tickets, right? There are two tiers of tickets. It's holding on the 4th of July in Enugu State, Nigeria, but there's also the option to attend online. We have just 50 tickets online and just 50 tickets on site, right? So they will post the link right now. So you want to be able to click it, you want to be able to, send it to somebody because of how intimate we want it to be. You can even send it to someone in their DM, right? Because of how intimate we want it to be, you can extend a personal invitation to a friend of yours, okay, needs a community, or just needs some insight as regards, you know, some of the things that they want to do with 2026, right? Because it will be a very big error if 2026 ends and nothing in your life changes, right? So that being said, let's go back to the conversation. And I think that a really good thing to say at this point would be that you are the one that is living your life. That is one thing, even though you don't live your life for yourself alone. But the truth of the matter is that you are the one that is living your life. And you require very, very customized understanding of the adjustments that you must make to step into your next. You're the one living your life, so you must understand. Like, it's a requirement that you understand, you know, the importance of the stretch that must happen for you to step into your next. You know, you need customized wisdom, customized knowledge to be able to step into your next, to know the places where you should make adjustments, because adjustments are required, adjustments are needed. Like in the next live session, we're going to be breaking down the learning dilemma, right? And that is one thing that I think would be very, very important. A lot of people say, oh, you don't know how you learn, you don't know how to use what you learn. Come next 2 weeks, we're going to have a very, very huge conversation about that, right? So it's very, very important. It's very, very important. 2026, the rest of 2026, and even the rest of 2027 will not be different if you are not different. 2026 will not be different if you are not different. You will not be able to take charge of your outcomes if you cannot take charge of your stretch, of the steps that you must make or the steps that you must take, right? Anytime I teach goal setting, they usually teach goal setting from a very, very interesting angle, right? So a lot of people come and say, okay, this is, they come and do vision boarding and all of that. I believe in, I will. I'm a little bit averse to that, but I believe in the power of visualization, and all of that. Very, very wonderful stuff. But usually I like to think of first breaking down the reasons why goals don't even work in the first place. The reasons why goals don't even work in the first place. Because a lot of times, even if you don't know why something is working, if something is not working, you know why it's not working. Or let me say that in a different way. If if an area of your life is working, right, and another area of your life is working, even if you're not able to tell why this area of your life is working, you know why the other area of your life is not working. You know, right? Or another way I can say it is sometimes you might not even know what you want out of life. You get when I say what do you want out of life? You might not really know the answer, but the truth is that you know what you don't want out of life. Start from there. You know what you don't want. You know the kind of person you don't want to be. You know the kind of business you don't want to have. You know the kind of family you don't want to have, the kind of relationship with your spouse that you don't want to have. You know what you don't want. And for you to be able to have that level of insight, it means that you can then take charge of the life that you want to build. So it is very, 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 very important. Again, I will say it's 2026, even 2027, 2028, 2029. It will not be different if you are not different. Your outcomes will not be different if the steps that you take towards actualizing your goals are not different. If you do not experience a stretch, if you do not experience a stretch, right? Until you change your patterns, right, you cannot change your outcomes. Until you change your habits, your patterns, your habits, your actions, the plans that you make to even, that facilitate those actions. Until you change these things, you absolutely cannot change the outcome of your life. That's a very, very important thing for us to, know. And I say this because a lot of us are, either eating too much or sleeping too much, or there's just a lot of, very wusky generation that we're in. You hear all these things like soft life, or you know, I believe. I mean, if you look at me, you know that I'm a soft girl. Do you get? But what I'm saying is that there is a level of, or there's a sense of personal responsibility that is lacking in this generation. And we've come from such a time where everything we've been hearing, or all the things that we've been hearing is around, oh, women power, women this. So there's some sort of awareness that we have as regards, oh, this is my power, this is the power that I have. But a lot of work has not been done into what it takes to develop and to deploy. Awareness is one thing, right? And we'll still even break down. There's so much about self-awareness and personal mastery that we want to even be able to break down. I think that would even be like the last live session before the class. Right? that we have. We'll be breaking down, the would I say the framework of self-efficacy. So we'll go from the awareness and discovery, self-discovery. We'll break it down to to healing, to self-regulation, to self mastery. There are about 6 layers, right, of personal mastery, and we're going to be breaking them. We're going to be breaking them down, right? So just stay with us. This is going to be such a wonderful. This is going to be such a wonderful ride. I promise, right? So we have posted the link to the seller on the in the chat box. Please do well, like I said again, to register, right? And I think maybe another thing that we can do is also post the link to the WhatsApp group. I don't know if that's possible, because I know that there's a WhatsApp group that was created, so that people have easy access to updates as regards when we go live. So I think that's something
Okay.
that we can
So
do as
so
well.
the WhatsApp link is going to be added to our bio, so they can easily access that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but just post the WhatsApp link again in the chat box. Just do
No
that.
problem. Sure. No problem. Sure.
All right, all right, right. So it's very, very important that we understand that, like I said, some of us are oversleeping. Oh, Jesus. Some of us are oversleeping. Some of us are overeating. Some of us are, over binging on things that don't even, you know, you just be wondering, and then you're just like, chai. You understand? So it's very, very important that we understand the stretch that must happen. Like I said before at the beginning, the current infrastructure that you have to step into your next is insufficient. So you must stretch. I don't care how wealthy you are, I don't care how successful you are. If you're going to step into your next, there's a unique requirement for a stretch to happen, right? There's a very, very unique requirement for a stretch to happen. Now, the first arena that a stretch must happen, and I think that this is very, very important, is you must stretch in your thinking. You must stretch in your thinking. You must stretch in your thinking. You see this about the subconscious mind or the mind, right? And how powerful the mind is. It is so critical in our rising. It plays such a critical role in our rising and in our falling, right? So it is very, very sacrosanct that you understand that I must stretch in the level of my thinking. And let me break down what I mean by the level of your thinking. The very first level or let me it will be I'll give us like maybe 3 things that must happen if you're going to stretch in your thinking, right? The first is your identity and your identification with your identity. That's the first thing that must happen, right? And your identity is very plainly put how you perceive yourself. How you perceive yourself. See, there's a way that you will see yourself. There's yourself that you will see that you cannot unsee. That nothing can happen that will shake that picture that you've seen. There's a version of you that you will see, that it really doesn't even matter. Maybe you're starting a business and you're trying to put a few things together, things that a little bit shaky here and there, around the whole place. But then, because of the way that you have seen yourself, because of the way that you have seen yourself, it immediately starts to cause a stretch to happen. So you know that as things happen to you, as you go through life, as you have experiences, these things, you now start to understand that these things that happen with me, these things that happen to me, seek to make me into who I have seen. There's a way that you will see yourself. There's a way that you will see yourself. I'm telling you the honest truth. There's a way that you will see yourself, right? There's a way, and the moment you start to see yourself in that way, a shift begins to happen, right? A shift begins to happen. There's a way that you will see yourself, and a shift will begin to happen, right? Very, very, very important, right? Because then you start to aspire to things that people will even ask you, are you mad? Like, are you, some of the, you they'll start to ask you, are you okay? Is everything fine? Is everything okay? Because then it looks like it's bigger than you, but there's a way that you have seen yourself. What is the future? The future, your future, is the potential that exists in the future. But do you know that you can pull that potential into the present simply by your ability to envision, or simply by your ability to engage in what is called visioning, right? Now, that's another thing that we're going to be breaking down at the masterclass. We're going to be teaching you the exact framework to, to engage visioning, your ability and to envision the future, right? Like, we'll actually sit down and we'll actually practice it there and then. We're not coming to come and do aspire to inspire to perspire. Do you understand? We're coming there to teach practical strategies that you can use to shift your life. If you're tired of overwhelm, if you're tired of, starting and not finishing, if you're just tired of just being ordinary and you're a lady, right? You want to be in that room. You want to be in that room. You want to cop a ticket before the ticket finishes, right? So yes, that's really wonderful, right? So it's very, very, it's very, very important, right? It's very, very important. It is very, very sacrosanct that the way that you see yourself starts to shift. Once that happens, like I said, a shift naturally starts to occur. A stretch naturally starts to occur. Because by the time you start to tell yourself, I will do this, or you are saying that it's my aspiration to do this, and ideally nothing around you even looks like that thing, it just instills a level of serious and dogged courage to pursue that life, to go after that life. Very, very important, right? So as we stretch in our minds, we must stretch in our identity and our identification with our identity. That's the first one, right? The second one is you must stretch in your understanding of the world order, or the systems of the world. How you think about the world order, how you think about the systems of the world. You must stretch in how you think about them, right? And I say this because they are quite, I mean, we live in such, and a woke, quote and unquote, woke generation. But at the same time, we live in such a generation of people that are so lazy. I'm telling you the honest truth, that are so lazy, that are so entitled, that are so, I don't even know, the grammar to, I don't even know the grammar to use, right? A lot of lazy and socially irrelevant, economically irrelevant individuals, even as ladies. That is one of the most, that is one of the, would I say, critical markers of the times that we live in now, right? So it is very, very important. You see them very, very economically, very, very socially irrelevant, without any understanding of how the world works, or how the system of the world works. Let me tell you the honest truth. The world that you were born into does not exist anymore. The world that you were born into does not exist anymore. So you must constantly and consistently ask yourself, how do I fit in to the world that exists now? How do I fit into the world that exists now? You must stretch in your understanding of the world order. You must stretch in it. What are the industries that exist? You must stretch in it. What are the spheres of influence that exist? You must stretch in it. You absolutely must. Right? There's been such a radical deconstruction of the world order, right? That you have to be able to ask yourself, where do I fit in? Where do I fit in this world now? In the world that we live in today. In the world that we live in today. Where do I fit in? Right? So you must stretch in, first of all, how you think about yourself. your identity and your identification of your identity. Level of the stretch in your thinking that must happen is you must stretch in understanding the world order, the systems of the world that exists now. The world that we live in now will not be the world that our children will grow up in. It feels very weird to say our children will grow up in. You understand? But you must. You must. Even if you even check the trajectory of the way that the world has been growing, we started there, there was the Stone Age, then they moved to another age, there was not the industrial age, now we're in the we're in the what's it called now? We're in such a decentralized industrial age. You can see that people I don't know if you've ever seen, do you know somebody can move from hospitality to interior design? No, hospitality and interior design are even connected. Someone can move from hospitality to engineering or to tech in 6 weeks. In 2 weeks you can move cross industry, movements. And you don't understand how these things work. You must stretch in your thinking of the understanding of the world around you. What is going on in the world? Right? Now the third level, we have about 20 minutes. The third level of of your thinking that you must stretch in is in those who lead you and those that you listen to. You must stretch in how you think about that. You must stretch in how you think about that. Or you must, that's the right way to put it. You must stretch in how you think about that. Right? You must be able to ask yourself, who are the people over me? You understand? For those of us who are believers, who are my pastors? Right? You want to also know, ask yourself, who are my mentors? Who are the leaders that I follow? Right? And that immediately, when you reconcile that, or when you come into terms with that, what that does for you is that it shapes how you, it instantaneously shapes how how you organize yourself and how you follow that individual. And when that happens, if you allow yourself be in that what's it called now, if you allow yourself be in that space, in that place, a stretch will come to you naturally. Because then you will be pushed to do things that, no, you are wondering, no, Jesus, what's going on here? There's someone who is holding you accountable. There's someone whose job it is to ask you why you've not done what you're supposed to have been doing. So we must change, or we must stretch in the way that we think about these people. Right? We must stretch in the way that we think about these people. I'm always eager to hear what my mentor has to say. I'm always eager to hear what my mentor. I'm always very eager. If I submit a report, I'm always eager to hear. If I say this is what I'm doing, I'm always eager to hear feedback. If you say, okay, no, you're not ready to do this now, do this in the next 6 months, do it in the next year, I'm able to say, okay, no, she don't want me to do it because she don't want me to prosper. No, it's very, very important that you stretch in your understanding, or in how you think about the people that lead you and the people that you listen to, the people that you give ears to. It is very, 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 very important. Because when that happens, like I said, a stretch will happen naturally. If you stay there, a stretch will follow. Right? A stretch will follow. And you must now know to give honor when honor is due, and all of those things. You must stretch in how you think about these things. If you're someone who doesn't even think of of honor, and I'm not even talking, it's not, the honor is not even primarily you know about money that they can count by hand. That's not even what I'm saying. It's literally in the disposition that you have. If you don't have that disposition, right, it will take a long time. It will take a long time, right? So it is very, very important. And God loves us too much to prosper our foolishness. Do you get? God loves us too much for him to prosper our foolishness. He's too invested in our lives. He's too invested in the things that we should, the things that we can become by Him. So it is very, very important. It is very, very important that we understand that. Now, the second, that's the first, right? We talked about you must stretch in your thinking. You must stretch in how you think about yourself. That is your identity. You must stretch in how you think about the world order, right? The systems of the world around you. You must also stretch in how you perceive the people that are over you. Do you understand? You must stretch how you think about them. Because when that happens, naturally, like as you just do those things, is you know the boundaries between between what's it called now, the capacity, what you can handle, starts to expand. It starts to expand. It starts to expand. Your competence also starts to get deeper, right? Because we know that competence and capacity is not the same thing. Do we understand? Competence and capacity is not the same thing. But these two things start to stretch when you decide to go the way of the stretch. Very, 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 very important. So now the second stretch that we must have is you must stretch in your vision. The first one is you must stretch in your thinking. The second one is you must stretch in your vision. I really hope we have enough time to cover everything because we have. You must stretch in your vision, right? And I want you to type it in the chat box and say, I receive a vision for my life that is greater than me. I catch a vision that is greater than me. I want to see it in the chats. I want to see it in the chat. I receive a vision that is greater than me. I catch a vision for my life that is greater than me. I receive a vision for my life that is greater than me. I want to see it. I want to see it. I want to see it in the chat box. I want to see it in the chat box. Right. I want to see it in the chat. And this is very important because if God wants to unlock if God wants to unlock your future, He will show you a dimension of your life's purpose, right? And the dimensions of the assignments that He will send you on that you have not yet seen. I want to see it in the chat box. I receive a vision that is larger than me, that is bigger than me, that is more than me. I receive a vision that is more than me. Very, very important. If God wants to unlock your future, right? If God wants to unlock your future, the dimensions of the recesses of the wonderful things that God will do with you, He will show you a dimension of your life's purpose, right? That you have not yet seen. You must even understand that, first of all, right? You must understand that. Are we even aware that our life's assignment, our life's purpose, or the fulfilling of our life's purpose and assignment is not, how do I explain it now? How do I say this now? Is not, is revealed in a continuum. The reality or your life's assignment, your life's purpose is revealed in a continuum. If every single thing that God wants to do with you is displayed in one breath, time will burst. Time will tear. Right? And there's something that my mentor says a lot. She says that you drip God's glory. You drip greatness. You drip greatness. You drip greatness. It is very, 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 very important. You cannot display all the potential that you have in you in one breath or in one space of time. You can't. Right? You can't. And what that means is that there are dimensions, right, of where you're going that you don't yet know. There are dimensions of where you're going that you don't know yet. There are dimensions of things that you will do, right? Despite how much you think that you know, despite how much of yourself that you know that, okay, no, God has sent me to do, to do. children work, to work with children, or to say children with despite how much you think you know, you don't know much. What happens if 5 years from now God just, it starts to put in your heart, I want you to now enter, I want you to now enter another industry that you probably don't even have anything, you don't even know, you don't even know any. See, what now keeps you in that posture is vision. It's your understanding of vision. That your life is more than you. It's your understanding of vision. It's your understanding of vision. It's beyond what is in your bio. They can read bio. This life, they can read bio. Bio is not even hard to write. Let's say a transformational catalyst. We had a session yesterday. I was just looking at the grammar in the bio. I was like, wow, wow. Like, are you kidding me? Guys, you are strong, oh. But you must. The goal is to even stay fluid enough with vision that you can go anywhere. It's to stay fluid enough with vision that you can go anywhere. You can enter renewable energy, and the next thing you're in. And that's the generation of women that are rising. Women who have multi-influential, multi-dimensional lives. Like that is the dispensation that we are in. If you don't know, you better know it now. If you don't know, you better know it now. You meet one person, that person has five different businesses I was, I was in a session with my mentor, and she was saying that recently she started recounting how many streams of income that she has. She has distinctively, you know what the word distinct means? She has distinctively 27 streams of income that are not, obviously all of them are connected to her. You understand? But she has 27 distinct ways that she has identified that money comes to her. 27. 27. Jesus. You don't say something sometimes and you just be like, no, truly, truly, I need to take the stretch very seriously. I need to take the stretch. And you cannot tell me that she's not living with vision. It's not possible. It's not possible. There are two types of, maybe two categories of vision, right? There is one, vision for your life. And that's why even the first session, like I said, if you pay close attention, every single thing that we're talking about is interconnected. The first session I spoke about an overarching sense of clarity before you now start to have a growing sense of clarity. The topics that we are discussing step by step are very, very intentional. We're very, very, would I call it handpicked? We're very curated and very, very crafted for the audience or for this purpose. It's very, very important that you know it. It's very, very important that you know it. It is it is very, very, very important. You must stretch in your vision. So I was trying to say that there are maybe two types of, maybe two categories of vision, right? Which we'll break down further at the masterclass, right? The first kind of vision is a vision for your life, right? That is when I say, you receive a vision for your life that is greater than you. Do you understand? A vision for your life. Then the other type of vision is that you catch a vision, maybe you to start a business. Do you understand? To start to do this with your corporate career, to start an NGO. That's a specific vision that you catch. Do you understand? Or that you cast. Do we understand? But there's a vision for your life. There's a vision for your own life. That is an overarching sense of clarity. That's what gives you an overarching sense of clarity. That's what gives you an overarching. You it must. It is very, very important. It is very, very important. Can we hear me, please? I think we went off.
Okay, we can hear
Okay, we
you. I
can
can
hear
hear
you. I
you,
can hear you. Okay,
but I'm not
but
seeing
I'm
you.
not seeing you. Okay, can we see me now?
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
I can see
Yeah,
you now.
I can see you now. All right, all right, all right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Right. It takes vision. There's something I paint down here, and I want us to pay good attention to it. Right. It takes vision to see that you might still be invited to a space that you've never played in before, and there can be no aspiration without vision. Right.
Yeah.
There can be no aspiration without vision. You don't aspire to anything when you've not seen anything. There can be no aspiration without vision, right? So it is very, very important. It is very, very important. What happens is when you don't have vision and there is no aspiration, you become satisfied, you become satiated, you become, you become lax, you become lazy, you become, you know, oh, we get the point I'm trying to make, right? It's very, very important. It is very, very important that we understand these things, right? It's very, very important that we understand these things, right? You need to be able to want more. You need to say, I want more, right? I want a great life. I want more, right? I've not even started. Even when God took Abraham, to the seashore, right? And he asked him to see. When God first of all took him to the top of the cliff and asked him to see, do you understand? He said, what do you see? He said, I can see the sky. He said, no, look again. What do you see? He said, I can see the stars. The stars. The stars. Very, very important. You know why? Because vision, there's a way that I say it. Vision is the trigger for sustained faith. If you're going to continuously, it's what gives you staying power. It's what gives you staying power. A vision for your life, first of all, and even a vision for the things that you're building. A vision for that thing that you're building is what allows you to stay building that thing because you know what you're building. A vision for your life is what gives you is what gives you staying power to build your own life. It's what gives you staying power to be able to focus on doing that. So it is very, very important. It is very, very important. It's what allows you to hold on, right? Now, the third and final thing that we'll be discussing this night, so that we can call it a very beautiful night, would be you must stretch in your character. You must stretch in your character, right? You must determine to outgrow nonsense behavior. You know, it must be a core determination of your of your evolution, of your becoming, to overcome nonsense behavior. Some of us have the right skills, have all of these things, but our character is just is just it is terrible. You have no hold on your emotions. You have no somebody cancel culture. I will block you. I'm blocking you. I will cut you off. Some of the things that you just hear sometimes in this our generation, you just be wondering, and then we now mistake protecting your peace from, or we misuse protecting the concept of protecting your peace with, okay, being rude and being, there's just a lot. So you must stretch in your character. And that is you determining to outgrow by rigorous, and a lot of us don't even know how to receive feedback. So from feedback, from watching your emotions, watching your responses to situations, to people around you. Many times when we even have issues with people, it's not even the people that are the problem. It is the situation. It's the situation that is the problem. If you don't know how to navigate your emotions, you will lose people and lose them a lot because you don't know how to regulate your emotions. You don't know how to you don't know how to find that sweet spot. You're not emotionally intelligent. You're not sensitive to other people's needs because you feel like, no, they should be sensitive to yours first. And this is not me saying that don't have your self-esteem or don't, no, 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 no. This is not me saying that. But if you're going to step into your next, you must stretch in your character. You must stretch in your character. And the main thing there is that you must determine to outgrow nonsense behavior. Normalized nonsense is how my mentor puts it. You must determine to outgrow your normalized nonsense. You must be aware of the spaces that those things exist, and you want to be able to take intentional effort, take feedback well. I'm so what I don't know what the word is now, but I'm so trained or I'm so awake that there is no kind of criticism I cannot take. It's not even, and the beautiful thing when you start to even see things like criticism, maybe even about your character, you start to see things like criticism not just as an attack, but as a pointer. A lot I do is I filter like mad. But for you to be able to come to this conclusion, something must have happened. That thing gone gone gone, that thing gone 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 is what I want to pay attention to. Whether criticism comes constructively or not, you must determine to be in you are your I say something a lot. So when it comes to triggering transformation, do you understand? Like the last time I taught that triggering personal transformation, right? Um your emotions are really good or can be really good triggers, but they are really terrible drivers. Like if you are led by your emotions, like if you are constantly and consistently led by, oh, you made me feel, that's why I acted. It's a very, very unhealthy thing. Unhealthy thing. Anybody who is anybody who is really, really aware of the power of the subconscious mind, di- I dictate how I feel. I tell myself how to feel. But if it's not really, I weigh it. If it's really not worth it, in the grand, a lot of things. One of the things I say a lot is when you measure things in the grand scheme of things, some things don't really matter. Do you get in the grand scheme of things? Some things don't really, they are not enough to rattle you. They should not be enough to rattle you. You deal with it and you move on. You're emotionally intelligent. You're considering. You're leading other people. You're considering other people. Right? So it's very, very important. So let's put it in the chat box for me. We've basically come to the end of today's session. So let's put it in the chat box for me. What are the three arenas that we must experience a stretch? If you are going to step into your next, there are three arenas. Well, there are actually five. But I think for today we have enough time for three. Right. You must sacrifice in your service, and you must stretch in your spirit, right? These are the remaining two. I would have really loved to break them down, but because of time and because of the context of the conversation that we're talking about, which is why we decided to just focus on these three. So let's list it out in the chat box. We're basically wrapping up. Let's put in the chat box the three arenas that we must stretch. And when you put the first one, open a bracket and put in, the other three. In that first one, mentioned about we mentioned about three things that must happen when you must stretch in your thinking, right? I've already now mentioned it finally. Please let's list them out. The first one, the second one, the third one. Let's have that in the chat box. Let's have that in the messages. I'm not seeing any message yet. Oh yes. My love, Neka got it right. I receive a vision that is greater than me for my life. I catch a vision that is more than me for the things that I build. You receive a vision for your life. You catch a vision for something to build. Really, really wonderful. Really, really good. Really, really good. Okay, Nora is saying we must stretch in our minds. I'm guessing that that's the first point that we made. You must stretch in your thinking, right? You must stretch in your thinking, right? And we broke that down, right? And we broke that down to you must stretch in your identity and your identification with your identity. You must stretch in the people that you listen to, the people who lead you, and you must stretch in your understanding of the world order, understanding the world around you, the systems of the world that exists, the current realities. How has the world shifted in the last 10 years? How has the world shifted in the last 20 years? What are the times that we're living in today? Right? Very, very important. Very, 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 very much important. Right. Any other person wants to mention the remaining two that we had? Someone has to. Someone has to. Then we can call it a night. Someone has to. Any other person? I'm not seeing any other person. So Nora has mentioned that we must stretch in our thinking. Right. What are the remaining two areas or the remaining two arenas that we must stretch? We must receive a stretch in. Anybody. I'm in the chat box waiting for a response. All right. Okay. Oh, she expanded on that. We were stretching our minds, Yes. Really wonderful. Wonderful. The people who lead us, understanding in the people who lead us. But then let's start exactly. It's like it's only Nora that's on this call. All right. The second one that she's saying is we must stretch in our character. You must outgrow your normal life. If you even find yourself in situations that's determined for you, when you determine to change, let's say a character, or you determine to respond better to situations, right? What you don't just It's not like as if you now get zapped like with a fuzzy feeling that, ooh, I'm now going to be responding different. No, that's not what happens. What happens is that what happens is that you realize that you have situations around you start to happen that determine you to act in a different manner. Things start to happen around you, and you must make it a point of duty. It's an intentional decision that you make, right? To act in a different manner, to react in a different way than you originally naturally would have, right? So you must stretch in your character. You must. You must. Some of us have bipolar disorder, but we don't want to agree. You must. You absolutely must, right? And the final thing is we must stretch in our visionary ability. We must stretch in our vision. You must stretch in your vision. You must stretch in your vision, the vision for your life specifically, and then also the vision for your life as an overarching clarity, and then a specific vision for something to build, whether it's a career within an existing organization or it's something else, something you're building something from the scratch by yourself, and stuff like that. But you must stretch in your ability to envision. You must stretch. You ask yourself, I think one of the easiest ways to begin, should I start giving, should I wait till the masterclass? One of the most significant ways that you ask yourself, or you start to spark vision, your visioning capabilities, is to ask yourself, what are the possibilities that exist, right? What are the possibilities that exist here? You're starting a business. You're saying, what are the possibilities that exist? What will happen, or what are the things that can happen if we do what we are supposed to do? What will happen? What will happen if we do what we're supposed to do? What will happen? Those are really good triggers if you want to start to ideate around, how do I receive a vision. You want to ask, what are the possibilities for the future that exist for me in Christ? Right. Very, very, very important. Very, very important. So I think we've come to the end of the session tonight. I know that I'm going to leave Amaka to close it out for us. I don't know if there are any questions, but then I'm going to leave Amaka to close it out for us, and also give another
All
reminder for the
right.
masterclass.
Thank you so much, Miss Sophia. Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you. If you know you learned a lot, tap in your love. Let her feel your love from wherever she is. Let her feel your love, because this whole knowledge, the value that we are getting, it's something that is normally paid for, right? But whenever we have our live sessions, we have, we get this value here. And to talk about value, I'm going to also add that Mastermind is coming. Mastermind 2026 is coming. We don't want to miss it. We don't want to miss it. It is happening on July 4th, and you can get your tickets now on Stella. So you don't want to miss it. I'm saying it again. So with this, I want to say thank you, Miss Sophia, for everything, for the knowledge. And I hope that we don't just, we don't just collect and go home empty, right? I hope we collect and actually do it, to exercise these things. So thank you so much, Miss Sophia. May God continue to bless you. And we'll be having our next live session on 14th of July. We'll be having our next live session on the 14th of July. So please don't miss it. Don't miss it. The flyers will be everywhere. You're
14th
going
of
to
June.
Sorry,
14th of
June.
June.
June. I'm so sorry.
So sorry.
It's next month,
Is next
14th
month,
of June.
14th of
So
June. So
don't
don't
forget
forget
to
to
join us.
join us.
8 p.m. is
8
always 8
p.m. is
p.m.
always 8
Does not
p.m.
change.
Does not change.
It's 8 p.m.
It's
So
8 p.m.
by 8
So
p.m.
by 8
June,
p.m.
June 14th,
June 14th,
we are going to come live
to
again to
come
have another
live again to
wonderful
have
discussion.
another wonderful discussion.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
everyone
so
that
much,
joined
everyone
in.
that joined in.
To those that
To
grabbed
those that
something
grabbed
today, I
something
really
today,
hope
I
that you
really
go
hope.
home and make use of it. Thank you so much, and good night. Bye.